Americans in this country saw an $850 billion increase in their wealth. But you know what? For the ordinary American, things are not so good. Last year, real wage increases for the average worker were less than 1%. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 87 million Americans have no health insurance or are underinsured. 45 million people are struggling with student debt. 500,000 people tonight are sleeping out on the street, including 30,000 veterans. That is not an economy that's working for the American people. That's an economy working for the 1%. We're going to create an economy for all, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
Mayor Bloomberg. Mayor Bloomberg, I'll let you respond to that. Do you think Senator Sanders' economy would be better for America than President Trump?
I think that Donald Trump thinks it would be better if he's president. I do not think so. Vladimir Putin thinks that Donald Trump should be president of the United States, and that's why Russia is helping you get elected so you'll lose to him.
Fuck you, Bloomberg.
Let me tell Mr. Putin, okay, I'm not a good friend of President Xi of China. I think President Xi is an authoritarian leader. And let me tell Mr. Putin, who interfered in the 2016 election, tried to bring Americans against Americans. Hey, Mr. Putin, if I'm president of the United States, trust me, you're not going to interfere in any more American elections.
Yeah!
We know what Russia wants. It's chaos.
So look, what we are witnessing is the last gasp of not just the establishment in the Democratic Party, but the neoliberal wing of the power elites, of the ruling class. We got three options right now, Sister Amy. We got neo-fascist gangster status with Trump. You got neoliberal wing of ruling class with the establishment of the Democratic Party, and you've got the progressive neo-populist, because Brother Bernie, my dear Brother Bernie, is not running on a Democratic Socialist platform. He's running on a progressive neo-populist, it's FDR-like platform. We've got these three options, and the establishment now in the Democratic Party is in panic. They're hysterical because they don't know which way to go, and they're now falling behind a Joe Biden who is so weak in energy, weak in vision, weak in courage, nothing but a hangover from the earlier neoliberal elites in the Democratic Party. So in that sense, it's a compliment to Brother Bernie. It's a compliment of all of us because we are unstoppable. The only vision, energy, excitement, bringing different people together, not just the new voters, but most importantly, those who are concerned about poor and working class folk. We're right now in a moment of ecological catastrophe, where it's a moment of unbelievable political dysfunctionality, and neoliberal elites in the Democratic Party do not have what it takes to push out the neo-fascist gangster in the White House. And I must say this about Brother Bloomberg. I know Brother Rush gonna say this, but see, Brother Bloomberg, neoliberal gangster. Gangsterized the police. 5 million precious black and brown and young folk pushed against the wall. Tried to crush public education. Pushed out quality teachers in bringing in all kind of bureaucratic folk under Joe Klein. And then, of course, tied to Wall Street. And most importantly, the escalation of the wealth inequality that's pulling the rug from under American democracy. So in that sense, Brother Bernie is the grand hope. That's why I was with him 4 years ago. That's why I'm with him now. And that's why I take a bullet, not my heart. That's for my mama. On my side, for my dear Brother Bernie.
Waking up to the fact that we have been living in this, what I call this winners take all America, in which the country is not being run for Americans. It is being run for money. I actually have gotten tired of the language of inequality, even though I wrote an entire book about it, multiple books about it, because I think it doesn't click with people what we're actually talking about. So if you are someone listening to this who's not, I mean, you're probably not because you're watching Democracy Now!, but someone who's not so excited about the inequality issue, think about it this way. In every year in this country and in all countries, a certain amount of future reigns on all of us. A certain amount of progress reigns on all of us. A certain amount of innovation reigns on all of us, right? Innovation, the Latin word for new stuff. And the question then becomes, when that new stuff, the future, progress reigns on us, who gets it? who harvest the rainwater. And what has actually happened is the future has become a thing that is privately gated and enjoyed and monopolized by very few people, which means...
And it is important that those workers are able to share the benefits. Also, when we have so many people who go to work every day and they feel not good about their jobs, they feel like cogs in a machine. I want workers to be able to sit on corporate boards as well, so they can have some say over what happens to their lives.
Mayor Bloomberg, you own a large company. Would you support what Senator Sanders is proposing?
Absolutely not. I can't think of a ways that would make it easier for Donald Trump to get reelected than listening to this conversation. It's ridiculous.
Fuck
We're not
you.
going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
Piece
You
of
can
shit.
respond to that, Anand Girdadas. And also talk about when Mike Bloomberg said, I worked hard for that money.
I mean, first of all, just, it's so interesting, given that this is, it's an election. It's a contest about actually connecting with people. It's so interesting to me that being that rich, as Michael Bloomberg is, makes there be no one in your life who actually tells you how you come across to people. I mean, he has the charisma of like a large piece of cheese that ate a robot. It's hard to even make up how unable he is to connect to people, but he's probably just surrounded by people who are like, oh my God, sir, you are connecting, which is part of the problem of being a billionaire. That exchange was so telling, and what happens in Vegas absolutely must not stay in Vegas, because what he is arguing is he's not just a guy who happens to be rich running in a progressive primary. He is running as a rich guy with all the rich guy intuitions, which is, I'm worth $60 billion because I earned that and nobody else had any part in that. And that is an ideology that just frankly does not belong in the Democratic Party, and it's a kind of 20th century, it's old, to be honest. It's just old. I know through my reporting a number of billionaires who just absolutely don't think that anymore, right? That's not even cutting edge thinking within the circle of billionaires, right? I've had billionaires text me being like, what's this guy doing, right? Like this guy, let's be just clear for a second. Michael Bloomberg is making billionaires uncomfortable with his defense of billionaires. This is a true fact that I can attest from my iMessages. So I think we got to think about this notion that he's articulating. It's a notion in which his wealth is somehow independent of all the extraordinary things in society that we've all paid into, from public schools to public roads to the financial regulators who allow him to build that kind of business. Michael Bloomberg, look, anybody watching this should feel grateful to America. But Michael Bloomberg should feel 60 billion times more grateful than anybody watching this.
Thank you.
Right? All of your lives watching this are sort of dependent, pretty dependent, on America being a functioning society with nice common things. But his life is really, really dependent on those common things. Because more than anybody watching this, he really depends on Wall Street regulators doing their job. He really depends on the United States court system doing its job well. Nothing he does is possible without that. He really depends, when you're hiring that many people, on there being a widely educated, well-educated workforce. And so it feels particularly churlish when you have an obligation to be 60 billion times more grateful than the average person for public systems, to denigrate them and claim that everything you made is your private prerogative that you could have done in any context in the world without any of these shared systems.
I want to go.
Bernie Sanders is the Democratic candidate who can actually beat a gangster in the White House named Donald Trump. You have to have enthusiasm, energy to counter the escalating neo-fascist energy and enthusiasm of a Donald Trump.